All right, there we are. Don't really have an introduction for the Every Second Matters because there's no jingle or anything. Every Second Matters is an awareness campaign, concept, project. I got a squeaky fan, so I'm going to walk away for a minute. Let me go turn off. Every Second Matters is an awareness campaign. That's a long line. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. And we're back. All right, dog is sick of me talking all day, so she's outside. And I cut off this computer, I guess. And we'll go live for a while. I don't know how long we'll be live. As usual, nobody's showing up for the beginning of this thing. So we'll talk for a bit and see who shows up and see who joins in. So let's see, second day of the month. It was a cold winter in November, and our evening in November, and we had become a community of people who use the internet, mostly YouTube, and the feature that was called Hangouts, a live chat room feature that YouTube had offered, I guess, for about 2 years. Quite a few people had watched the videos on a couple of our content creators' channels. In other words, a couple of us were posting videos, and then others, were watching the videos and having conversations about them. And then in those days, you could respond to videos in a different way. So if someone made a video with a question or some kind of challenge or something, somebody else could make a video and respond to it. And that really fostered a community. So while communities happen everywhere in real life and online, communities started to get fostered there on YouTube. Oh, snap. Yeah, thanks. I don't know why I'm doing that. I was working on the calendar earlier. So no, let me go kill that. I got to type all that again. I'll just do it easiest. So yeah, thanks for Kojo for that. I messed up that. And we had a poll going on the YouTube side, and if YouTube ever lets me, I don't know why I even put the date in there. I'll just go back to good, or no, great. So was November good? Or let's see, do this again. Was November great, good, okay, or bad for 2A? That's the poll. All right, thanks for that. Now I got the poll out there better. All right, so anyway, yeah, we had this community that started to happen because we were able to, and I don't think it was entirely because of that, but as I look back, I think that was a big chunk of it, that we could interact with each other's videos and stuff. So because no one intentionally started the communities. Nobody looked ahead and said, oh, you know what, YouTube should replace MySpace, which is what it eventually did, right? And probably something about that gave the people at Facebook a heads up that, oh, wait a minute, our book about whatever misogynistic goofiness, could easily be a manipulative influencing tool. So why don't we change directions with it, right? And that probably had something to do with the way they were seeing stuff develop on, oh, that's nice, I just turned off my monitor. Seeing stuff develop on YouTube. Sorry, I'm moving some lint from behind the monitor over here. Yeah, so we had this community, and we were minding our business, and then in the end of 2012, one individual did some horrible things that were disgusting, and then a whole bunch of other horrible people decided to exploit that, which a lot of people think is also disgusting. And their influence, of course, had to do with money and power and control over people, and offered a new way to control people. So politicians and others thought that was a great idea. And it was a good time to challenge the fortitude of the citizenship of the country. Let's mess with them. Let's take them to task. Let's see how resistant they really are, and let's just lay down the thing. Let's just tell them we're going to take away your rights, and that's what he did. He said, "I'm not going to do it legally. I'm going to do it in a different way. I'm going to take away your rights." 23 of them, let's just say. And the people kind of said no, and they resisted that through all different kinds of ways. It was pretty awesome to see. Luckily, I happened to be looking up at the time instead of looking down at my wallet or down at my hands. I was looking up. I was looking at the community. I had built some stuff, and I had done some things, and I had had some awareness. So when I saw this all happen, it made me shudder to my bones in a different way, I think, than I would have as a youngin' when I was just a purchaser. So when I got to see that stuff in 2013, I thought, dang, that was cool. That really was effective. And I think others did as well. And others who were in my position, because it wasn't like I'm unique. I just grew up with magazines, and I watched the internet happen, and I was involved a little bit and knew enough to know how the internet works. So I was amazed by some of the cool things that happen out there. And when we saw that resistance, that grassroots resistance, we knew that was a thing that we needed to do something about other than just observe it. And through a series of maybe 3 or 4, I don't even remember, a couple of online chats with many people, maybe 10 people, and plenty of people, 10 plus 30 or more actively participating in the comments out there. There's no way to remember everybody, but it's all archived potentially somewhere. Anyhow, that group, that bunch of people with a similar interest and set of experiences decided to eventually do something on the 2nd of each month. All right, so now I've talked for 7 minutes. That's faster than normal. So Clover jumped in. Thanks for joining.
What's up?
Anyway, so it's boring at the beginning when nobody shows up. I send these links out to 30-something people, and nobody shows up. So I always know the beginning of the show is going to be some kind of boring rant where I have to blab.
Well, I just shared the CloverTech community tab. For those out there that do not use that, it's a very, very valuable tool, and you need to. But yeah, I just shared it because I just got through trying to get my video drop done today for the GunTuber Academy channel. So I was trying to get that.
Oh, log on to. I'm going to interrupt you. Go over to Your Second Matters and say something. I'll make you loud over there.
Yeah, give me a minute. There we go.
All right, so I threw the poll out there. How was November 2021 this year for 2A? Great, good, okay, bad. We got 1 vote for great and 1 vote for okay. So how does that happen? It's not even similar. It could have just as easily been 2 votes for good. I see it.
I just voted good. I don't think it was great, but I think we have.
Oh, I meant GunTuber Academy. You already got one on this one.
Oh, I'm not on there. Okay.
Well, I don't ask you. There's some way that StreamYard can make you be logged into YouTube to come in here. I don't do that, so you can be on different channels and different places.
I got you.
Yeah, so Every Second Matters was the result of a bunch of people getting together and deciding, let's talk about the Second Amendment on the 2nd each month. And now 7, 8, whatever many years later it is, some people have, and some people, discontinued that there. Some people have been doing that, and not all in the same direction. I mean, I don't hang out with everybody that was in that room from many years ago. I don't even remember who they all were. Hopefully some of them are out there doing something, and you don't have to do anything. There's no obligation. You don't have to do anything every month or often or even more than once. But the idea is that if there's something to do, then that gives us more than one, it gives us a point. And now somebody can lay down a second point, and that gives us a trajectory or a direction, right? So feel free to take Every Second Matters and go with whatever direction you want. The idea is just to have awareness on the 2nd, well, within reason, obviously, because the goal is to have a awareness on the 2nd of the Second Amendment, what it protects on the 2nd, without any other strings or anything else attached. So it's an awareness campaign, and I'd say it's also, at the time, it was focused on Pink Pistols, which was, or is, an organization that was started in 2000 because a magazine article said something like, I don't know, whatever at the time you called LGBTQ, whatever. At the time, they would say, the article said, y'all should be armed, and then I think one person said, okay, let's do that, and then created the structure, and it was just a website and a concept. And because of the situation with those folks not wanting to, for whatever reasons, be a gun owner or be outed as a member of the community or whatever their deal was, they just didn't want to have to be a member of anything. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty interesting strategy. You don't have to have membership, you don't have obligations, you don't have rules, and you don't have many of the issues that we got when, at least in every organization I've ever been in, there's always this weird derailment, occasionally, if not often, about, I don't like the color of our logo, or how come our logo is a triangle instead of a square? Just little dumb things like that, or major things, right? But whenever you got multiple people trying to agree on something, it gets pretty weird. So, or at least it potentially can get pretty cumbersome. So I thought Pink Pistols had an interesting concept, and everybody seemed to be okay with that. So we went with this concept that if you're every second matters, every second matters. If you're not, you're not. But there's no obligation, there's nothing. And that's the only thing about it, is that you can't put a bunch of rules on it or something and say you have to do this or something to be part of it. So anyway, some of the people's contribution to it has been, over the years, conversations or other things. So, all right, with that, we definitely have some people watching now, and I've said enough. I think I've explained it all. So I'll keep.
And I didn't have to hear it for the 180th time there. So, yeah, it works.
Mess it up every time. So somewhere along the line, people get the idea. Anyway, so there's 30 links out there. We got a chat open. It'll go live for a while. I don't know what's coming up. There's a show with barbecue at 9, or at least a long time from now for me. Is there anything else going on today?
Gear Report Week at Gear Report is later tonight.
Yankee does a thing. It looks like he's doing some kind of thing for his giving away toys or gun toys or whatever.
Yeah, he was supposed to be kind of following up or whatever. The aftermath video or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, now I understand what's wrong. I am logged on to Every Second Matters. I'm like, how come nothing is showing up in my list that's normal? It's all these weird old channels. Subscribe. So now I'm going to switch back to my actual channel and see what's actually going on this episode. Anyhow, there's no schedule for this show. I don't like to talk about news of the day, so I typically don't. But we do have links out there, and folks are able to jump in and be part of it. If you're watching live, I guess I'm not screen sharing, but we're watching the content or watching the comments. Feel free to questions, comments, observations, topics, that kind of thing.
Well, I'd like to manipulate the conversation maybe a little bit, and it's just definitely too related. Earlier when you went live, I had, of course, the GunTuber stuff up here, GunTuber Academy stuff up, and then I do now. There's a reason for that. Is actually went live for the first time and did the first podcast yesterday over on the GunTuber Academy channel. So I know that we've been talking behind the scenes about getting back into the nerdy stuff and the nuts and bolts and things to, help people learn these tools to more effectively get messages out, right? And so that was good, and eventually want to kind of have you on, Head Ghost, on first as a dry run for that first episode, but want to bring you in and definitely talk about pick a subject and run through it, and eventually work up to some of the nerdy shows that we used to do. It maybe bring some more people in along the way. So that's kind of what it's about.
Well, since we got nothing else and everybody's just saying hey or whatever, so then I thought when you were saying that you were not planning to go live, or that you were debating, so I guess obviously you decided to go live, or am I just misunderstanding and misremembering?
Yeah, I wanted to wait until there was I wanted to wait till 1,000 subs over there. I really did. But then I hit 100, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's give it a dry run and see what happens. And I'm pretty pleased for a first live stream on a channel. I gotta say, We had some audience interaction over there. It was predominantly all creators, all people that utilize, uh, the various mechanisms on the interwebs, so to speak. There was not necessarily a lot of questions. I mean, we kind of ran through our topic in the last, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes, kind of dealt with comments and questions and dove down some of those rabbit holes. And I think that's probably how we'll do the normal podcast over there. And then, I eventually want to move back into probably a monthly thing where, we do a panel. We bring uh, a bunch of people in, a bunch of different creators into a panel. But I'm still not opposed to and think I'm going to do also, if there's not really a topic, if somebody just wants to kind of have an on air type consultation, right? Maybe go through and do some different stuff like that where we talk about, what are their goals for their channel and then go look at it and look at their various social media presences and, kind of give them some ideas of what they could be maybe doing differently, where some of their strong suits are that they could lean into and some pitfalls, obviously, to look out for that we've got to watch out for when we're on these platforms, of course.
And everybody who's saying hello and looking for comments. Nobody said anything. So with the tuber thing, then the Gun Tuber Academy, are you thinking topics as they come to you, or are you like got a list of topics for future shows or things that like you've been wanting to hit that this is going to be the show that you can hit them, or how is that? Or is there a plan for that?
The topics will be most likely my topics will be generated by whoever the co-host or guest or whoever is for that particular one that we do, most likely. So, I'll want to, if we're talking about, I don't know. I mean, for example, if you were going to be the next guest, one of the topics would be, how people come and go, right? And maybe discuss ways to stop the burnout, or how do you adapt, or that type of mechanism, since you have been around so long and seen so many.
Just as you said that, because I'm sitting here thinking like, how would I answer the question I just asked you? Like, what if you went advanced basic or something, so that, because I was just sitting here thinking like, you got to be in the right mood to want to sit down and watch basic stuff if you're not basic or you consider yourself advanced or something. And then if you're a basic person, it's nice to know what the things you need to know. Like, oh, I'm using this software, I got to learn the tools. But you're really thinking like, what am I going to do with this software? So I'm thinking, or with 2A, like, once I meet everybody, what can I tell them? Like, you're thinking what's next. So having some basic, advanced kind of stuff, maybe is that a strategy? I think there's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, definitely want to do. I definitely want to do a mixture. And one of the things that was why the first topic was something about the big YouTube creator gurus and how they fail. Because they're out there, and don't get me wrong, go listen to that podcast. First of all, it was an hour long, and I can't cover it all here, but the gist of it was that they're out there to try to cater to everybody on the YouTube platform that's a creator, and they give them all the generalizations of you need good thumbnails and titles and all the crap that we pretty much all know about, right? But they don't dive into specific niche problems like a lot of the things we deal with as gun tubers, as firearm content creators, that sort of thing. The political realm even comes into play a little bit with us. And so we got to be aware of policies and how to word things and how to maneuver through the ecosystem that is YouTube, right? And they don't teach that, and they don't even want to touch that, and they don't want to even have people like myself, because really I don't know of anybody else that is a gun tuber that is also a creator spokesperson or whatever you would call me. I don't know what you call me, right? But I don't know anybody else that
it's pronounced that. YouTube shill.
Right. But I don't know anybody else. Yeah, YouTube shill. I don't know anybody else that takes on that role of actively helping in that capacity, right? That specific capacity. So where they're like a general practitioner doctor, and it's great to have those, and people go to their general doctor every day, all day, every day of the week. You need specialists, and that's where I come into play, and hopefully we see more of that with. That's kind of my overall goal. Is I want to see other niches that have issues too, creators come up from those niches that start helping others in that niche to better understand what's going on and why it's happening and how to get around it, how to not necessarily get around it, but how to avoid it, and how to work within those guidelines and things like that. Um, so yeah, there's absolutely a place for the basic, but I want to try to tailor it as specifically as possible, as much as I can, to what we do. And then also, like I said, I didn't even think about it until about halfway through the hour yesterday. And I thought, you know what, we're going to address some of the comments and some of the things that were dropped out in the chat, because some of that was basic stuff. There was some stuff about that we've covered on the nerd shows in the past, about replying to comments. And there was some stuff about there about consistency of putting out your content. There was some stuff about, whether giveaways, that sort of stuff, giveaways and special treat shows and videos were effective, right? There was some conversation about that out in the chat. And so the last, like I said, 15 or 20 minutes was kind of a Q&A. Let's interact with the live chat and make them a part of the podcast, which is the whole point of going live. So, is reading some of the comments. So I'm going to take that opportunity to kind of poke the audience out there today for Every Second Matters and say, hey, topics, questions, suggestions, conversation, go. Don't just jump in and say hi and bail on us.
That's interesting. So a couple of things there. First off, well, okay, let me write down who is ETM 2M4, and then I'll go. Since you brought that all up, I didn't watch your last video on Tuber, where it was, or was that the live one? Whatever you're saying, like, what are the YouTubers failing you or whatever?
That
so
was
that
the
was
podcast. Yeah.
Okay, so in a nutshell, you're just saying that they're just telling you overall strategies, but they're not being useful for gun people.
Yeah, they're giving you like we talk about the recipe a lot, right?
Yeah.
So they don't even give a recipe, right? What they do is they give ingredients. They say, oh, you want to make a cake? Well, that has flour and it has milk and it has eggs and it has, well, yeah, but depending on what kind of cake you want to make is going to depend. If a pound cake's much different than an angel food cake, is much different than a whatever, right?
That's a good point, yeah.
So they have a purpose in that they can't help on a basic level, and that basic level also translates even to more complex, bigger channels, because that's certain things that you kind of have to do right on the platform for the most part. But then when you get into special nuances, for example, one of the things that's really frustrating, they'll get into affiliate marketing and stuff like that, but they won't address the elephants in the room, which is like, we have to be, as gun tubers, really super careful with that type of thing. We have to be really super careful with even product reviews and stuff in the language we use, and talking about the company of the product or the website, or whatever, right? And so they actively avoid stuff like that. But then at the same time, and here's what's really frustrating, G, at the same time that they actively avoid, they don't want to dive into that at all, to kind of even remotely let you know their knowledge on that particular subject in that niche, right? Then they'll turn around and they'll pimp their consultation services that are hundreds of dollars an hour, right? It's like, oh yeah, we can't really cover that in a video or in a live stream because it's just not that popular, and it's you're super niche and nobody cares to hear about all that, blah blah blah, and we'll probably get demonetized if we talk about gun tuber policy, firearm related content policy, blah blah blah. But if you'll go over and pay $500 for a consultation, then we'll develop a specific consultation with you and help you out with your specific issues. Well, excuse me, but if you're not letting me know in any way, shape, form, or fashion what you know about the firearm related niche, I may know 1,000 times more than you already. So why would I pay you $500 and then you come in and give me nothing? Right? It's like I need some type of a sample. There's a reason that salesmen used to run around with vacuum cleaners and stuff like that and demo before they sold them. It's because people wanted to at least have some kind of idea what they were getting into, right?
Right. Well, so that's what I was going to say is when you're talking, you got a good analogy there, I think, or whatever, metaphor, whatever it is, for if they're suggesting that they're going to help you bake, right? I'm going to help you bake cookies or that, like, I'm going to help you bake or I'm going to help you bake cookies or bread or whatever. And then it's like, well, first you're going to need fresh flour and not flour that's all gross and wet, right? And then you're going to need salt that's not a giant lump of salt, but instead salt crystals. And you're going to need a bowl and not like a tiny little measuring cup, but an actual bowl. But you might need a measuring cup. And I could waste a half an hour saying dumb things. But like you say, it's not, I was just going to say it's not going to tell you how to make a piece of bread. But you're right. It's not going to tell you how to make a cheesecake versus a layer cake versus anything else either, because similar ingredients are in all of that. Right. But then here's the thing. So you hit on it. So I'm trying to figure out how to sew all this together. But so first off, yeah, they can be kind of vague and offer blah, 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 just to fill time. And lots of people will appreciate that because it is actually helpful. Like it is helpful to go, oh crap, I never thought about that. My flour shouldn't be all gross. Maybe that's why my cake is bad, right? And especially if it's entertaining or useful more than once. I'm being exaggerating dumb examples, but there's plenty of things where it's like, oh, okay, now I see how they cook in Italy, or I see how they cook with those ingredients, right? Like, oh, I know how to make everything vegan now, and it's awesome, right? Like that kind of thing can be a thing in itself. And even if they're not like teaching you how to actually cook or whatever, but on the other hand, to actually teach you how to cook, they might want to see your kitchen. I cook on a different situation than I'm sure you're cooking on, which is different than whoever's watching this, right? So we can't cook exactly the same because we have different, if electric versus gas versus something else, right? Fire. So
right.
I can get that, and it makes sense. But here's the other thing. It's hard to get this tied into it. They could have been talking about literally recipes or cooking. They could have been talking about how to fix your car, right? They could have been talking about gun-related things. They chose to talk about, in this case, YouTube and how to run a business, because when you look at the menu, right, there's a menu with all these recipes and stuff. There's a menu, and if you look at that menu, guns and knives, and we're down there with drugs and prostitutes and violence and shit, right? Yeah. Right. We're in the you don't get paid. Like you're lucky if you can use our platform part of the menu. Like we refused the service. That's our part of the menu, right? Like we got to hope that they consider
we're the dollar menu, like literally,
Yeah, right. And on the other hand, when you look at the other side of the menu, there's the caviar and the fancy desserts and this and that. And the real money on YouTube is to tell people how to do YouTube. The real money on YouTube is to tell you how to run a business. The real money on YouTube is to teach you how to use software. The real money on YouTube is to teach you things that you need to know to get a thing accomplished and to get return on your time invested. And they're going to make more money on their ads. YouTube has more incentive because there's more people looking for that. It's going to get translated in other languages and still apply. You're going to get paid potentially, right? You're going to get more views, which could get you higher, whatever, So it's a better lucrative thing to be paying attention to business on the internet than it is to be talking about guns. We're a niche. So if we were talking about, hand knitted pot holders, we'd also be a niche. It wouldn't be one that YouTube hates, but it would also be one that doesn't get paid. So those people aren't talking about how to knit or how to make pot holders. They're just not interested in that. They're interested in making money. So again, trying to sew this all together, another layer to that is who is watching a how to get rich video? Who is watching a how to cook video? Right, who is watching a how to sew pot holders? Somebody who cares about pot holders, and they're gone. It's not like a how do I get involved in a community to pot hold, or how do I get in a community that holds pots with pot holders that we made, or how to DIY pot holders, right? They're looking for a video to get in and out. So those audiences that they're attracting and they're helping you attract are what I call touch and go or flybys for a reason, because they're there to learn and be gone. When I make a video about like, how do you clean a gun? It's not like, how do you hang out with me every weekend and run a channel? That's like, goodbye, here's your answer, see ya. If you're lucky, you did a little song and dance during it, so they're like, oh, next time I need to know something, I'll go ask that guy. But most of these people that have giant channels, it's because they're doing something that gets people to stick around, right? So anyway, that's sort of what I was getting at, is these people that talk about business and do FYI or, here's how to answer a question type of videos. They intend to never see that audience again. If they're lucky, the audience subs and subscribes. That's why it's like, hi, welcome to my sub and subscribe to my video, my channel. And if you'd sub and subscribe to my channel, that'd be great. And here's the answer to your question. Thank you very much. Sub and subscribe, because they know they're never going to see that guy again. They want that sub. Right. And the person who's like, well, this answered my question, I'll sub to it. And whoever watches their subscription list. Very few people even go to YouTube and use the subscription tab to be bothered by all the clutter. They go in, use YouTube once, they're gone. Come in, use it again, they're gone. If they forget to subscribe, they don't care. If they subscribe, they don't care. So anyway, there's a different mindset, a different mentality, right? We're talking to Second Amendment people who own the gun, and they don't just want to know how to clean it. Maybe they want to know 4 different ways to clean it, or how to deep clean it, or something else, right? Or maybe they want to know something. They want to chat with somebody about something, right? We're also marginalized, so we can use that to some extent to our advantage, or at least we're different than them because of that, because we can't just go out on the street and find 7 or 8 people to talk about cleaning revolvers with.
Right.
All right, so that was a couple of my points on those topics based off of YouTube Academy. And then obviously, like, the opposite side of all that is how we're, like I just said, like, we're not any of that as far as gun people. And if we do attain or strive to create videos like that or content like that, then that's what we get. People that come and go.
Yeah.
And then you got to play the come and go game. And it's like I say, it's like, hey, can you throw my bumper sticker on your car before you leave? Hey, I love you. Can you throw my bumper sticker? It's like that movie Idiocracy, right? Where the Walmart greeter turns into like, welcome to Walmart, I love you, or whatever. Like, it gets to be like this desperate game because you're only going to see these people once or whatever. And depending on what kind of content you're making, I guess if you're talking just, I'm making a show, a channel about how to fish, or I don't know, how to make pot holders, then maybe you want to have that kind of info. But I don't think too many gun people they're mostly looking for, well, I shouldn't say that mostly. Most of the people I know are looking to build channels that are places for people to hang out and chat, ask questions and learn or something.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, one of the goals, and that was one of the many reasons of branching off and creating the GunTuber Academy channel was, you talk about firearms being on the value menu with a lot of, let's be honest, with a lot of other niches that are, whatever you want to call it, well-intentioned, noble, whatever, that a lot of other niches that information needs to be out there. But part of my goal too, and this from some of the behind the scenes, and unfortunately a lot of stuff I can't really talk about too heavily, is trying to bring us off of the value menu. You know what I mean? At least get us on the what am I thinking about? The numbered value meal list, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, we don't
even
have
if
to
we're
have
the number 11 or 12, at least we're the we're the double, whatever, the double cheeseburger meal. We may not be the Big Mac meal or the Whopper meal, but at least we're on there, right?
Yeah, with an actual number next to us so that people can order us. And again, it's not like hey, we don't affiliate ourselves with these people over here. Just so you know, we told them we didn't even want them here.
Right. It's like, and that's a great analogy because we're the dollar menu. We're stuck way over in the corner, way down low, where they really don't want people to shop off of that, or, you know what I'm saying? It's like they're okay with it being there, and they'll make it if they have to, if somebody orders it, just like they'll serve our videos up if there's a need for it. But it's like, we're really not going to put it out there front and center on the big menu boards.
Well, and I guess what we're talking about there is the reason that people spend more money for ads and you get more pay for making videos about business and all that kind of stuff is what's the word? Like, it's tied to the amount of money people spend on YouTube. So, Coca-Cola is going to spend X amount of dollars, but a company that's like, I'm going to be selling software that helps a small business, well, they're going to spend a lot more because they figure the person watching YouTube is on a computer. So if they happen to go to a small business video, it's worth a lot more to them to have that person than somebody on television or radio. So anyway, there's reasons why the parts of YouTube are so high, and a part of it is because of their policy, which prohibits like a Brownells or a Giant gun shop or anything like a Battlefield Vegas. Think about how much Battlefield Vegas might want to compete with the other 13 rental places in Vegas on the internet for people who travel to Vegas, right? Or like the ones in Florida might want to compete with Vegas. Like, hey, if you're traveling, remember you can shoot automatic firearms here too. And that drive tanks place, those kind of places when real money comes into it, Smith and Wesson can advertise on videos, right? Like that's a whole nother story. And if YouTube policy wasn't a glitch, then that might be a thing. We don't know for certain. It's just that it's not a thing now because nobody's facilitated it, right?
Right.
But anyway, we're talking a lot about the nuts and bolts there. This is Every Second Matters. We're 35 minutes into it. I invite about 30 people. So we'll see if any others show up. We go live for a while until anything else comes along. Daily Bullet is happening right now. I don't really feel too bad about Quark and that. Crump was live with some kind of pilot, I think, earlier. I don't see anything else that says it's live. What did it say? Thursday. So you said that Gear Report does a thing, and
Yeah, a few hours away from them, though.
Barbecue. Well, that's not even two-way or guns or nothing. It's just gears and maybe a gun adjacent once in a while. So I wouldn't be too worried about Quark and that if we were having a good conversation over here. I'm not looking to Quark. But on the other hand, there's nothing I'm aware of that's two-way coming up until later on tonight, the Guns and Barbecue ripoff of the Daily Gun Show. So, like I say, we'll just go live for a bit here. I like to give it some time for people to jump in who have sent invites or links out to. And then otherwise, I guess the long way of saying if you got topics, throw them out there. Oh, Sandhills, I never watched that show. That's at 8. What time? You can't just say 8 on the internet because that could be 8 anytime. But anyway, that's later on tonight also. Let's see. So then, what do we got? Trying to see if we've got any questions that are out there for the 2A thing. We have a couple of points that we can click on. Here's one just to get this one so we can move on from the gun tuber thing. But this was a gun tuber thing when we were talking about that. Saying, Clover, how do you, or maybe giving you an idea for a future show or tip or something, or a future show topic or something. But Clover, how about tips to get more views on videos that are gun related but are more gear than actual firearm? That's a huge difference in views. Is that a tip or a suggestion? Is that a suggestion or a question?
I would need more information. I'm not following.
So how about tips to get more views on videos that are gun related but are more gear than actual firearms? So I guess what he's saying is if you're on a channel that's skewed towards guns, is there a way to throw some gear videos on it? And I'm not suggesting you need to answer it. I'm just saying maybe that's the topic that he's suggesting.
Yeah, I'm not real sure that there's a huge difference in views is where I'm getting tripped up because I mean there's a huge difference in views because of a lot of reasons on a lot of channels for a lot of things.
No, you're right. So, yeah, I'm ignoring that too because I don't know what he means by that.
It's like, and that kind of threw me, right? But
because you can have the best video in the world drop on a Tuesday and nobody's watching on a Tuesday.
So you've got to lean into what you see as your strengths, and for every channel that's going to be different, right? That's where a lot of these big YouTube gurus they go wrong is they spend absolutely no time on. They tell you to niche down, which is to try to lean into your specific strengths and stuff, basically, but then they don't talk about anything on that level. So it's like, who do you go to teach that? Again, you need a specialist for that, right? So yeah, I mean, you could do anything. I mean, you could do your camera gear, your phone, your whatever it might be. If you can find a way to lean into the strength of your channel, let's say that it is firearm reviews or whatever. One way I do that a lot of times that works out fairly well is I'll do that out on the range. I'll talk about, something that's non-firearm related. If we're talking about non-firearm related gear that maybe could be, because obviously a phone can and microphones and different things, it is related in the sense of being able to create firearm related content. So, could you talk about that while you're on the range doing something else, right? And that also gives you the opportunity. You also have an opportunity to, a lot of people overlook this. A lot of people get really wild and crazy when it comes to monetization. And they get really mad at YouTube, and they don't understand the game. First of all, the vast majority of them do not understand the monetization game and all the different policies that play and other things. But um, creators in general, and this is not, I'm not picking on specifically gun tubers with this. This is in general. They don't realize the power that they have if they really take it seriously that they're a media organization, media company, whatever, an artist even, however you want to word it, that, they've got something of value in their skills to put a video together and do other things. And you can reach out and you can put in your own product placements and your cameos. I mean, remember the old school TV shows where, there was a piece of duct tape over the Coca-Cola label because, they couldn't nobody paid for the product placement. And if Coke wanted their thing to be seen on the TV show, Coke needed to pay that TV show money, right? Or whatever the case may be. So same thing. I mean, you could have a piece of gear or something that simply you mention in passing, or maybe you even spend 15 to 30 seconds in the middle of a video talking about that gear and related to whatever you're doing on the range or hunting or whatever it might be. And, that's a way that you could push that. And I mean, maybe you could pay $20 for that by a company. Maybe you could pay 100, 500, who knows, but money's money. So, if you're looking for ways to monetize, there's a lot of things creators can do on their own. And so, I don't know if we're, when people say views, it's like, okay, but why are you trying to get more views, right? Are you trying to get more views to get more subscribers? Are you trying to get more views because that inevitably will, generate more ad revenue? There's a lot of questions. And so we have to start getting really specific, and it's really tough to do that without like some one-on-one time or whatever. And I don't know if Defense Dad has a link, and, possibly we could talk about it, but, yeah, I don't want to hijack the Every Second Matters as well with Nerd Chat.
But for that kind of stuff on that channel, that's what it's all about. So I'm over here looking at, after we had chatted, I went live earlier today just to kind of freeform as I was digging into the calendar updates for next year. Then that didn't work because it was a train wreck trying to talk and do things. I'm not able to do that. So we chatted for a bit and everything, about 2 hours. And then in the time since, I just finished it all. So it's way easier, it turns out, to do things when you're not trying to screen share and talk to everybody. So I'm just going to quickly go through again all this stuff, since that would give us some time for people to come up with topics and stuff. And then we'll address some of the points that I've seen come up here as we were talking before. So just in general, I rounded everything up into the major gun shows, and I don't have all of them here. So if you're aware of big gun shows that happen, usually the promoter's biggest gun show, or I guess a specific or a cool gun show or something, let me know about it, please. We got the yearly hunting events. These are all the different conventions for most of the, like Ducks Unlimited, Pope and Young, the Safari Club. I'm sure I don't have them all here. I'm not much of a hunter, so if you know of any I'm missing, please let me know. I guess I'll drop a link here for anybody that wants to check it out. I've been posting stuff on the Patreon as my blog because, as you can see, I can add the pictures and highlight stuff and add links right in it. It's just way easier to format it. It's a lot more like a blog, so I consider this my blog. So then we got the yearly shooting events. That's kind of a hodgepodge of everything. So Big Sandy, the Bianchi Cup, so some competition stuff in here too. Then we've got the yearly industry events, a bunch of these, and I went through, there's only 2 to be announced in here, and these are the USCCA and Precision Rifle Expo. Otherwise, I guess this one law enforcement one, but everything else is solid. For the yearly shooting events, there's only like a couple of TBAs, and these are the events that like just took place last month anyway, or I guess in October, so they haven't really been scheduled yet. They normally aren't scheduled this early. So there's lots of dates in here. I was able to find them all. Basically, I just went to last year's calendar, clicked on the link, found the website, and just updated the thing. I mean, it's very easy once I wasn't chatting the whole time. So pretty much everything that is in the list has dates, and it's all listed here. So you can use this to plan or to strategize. Please share, right? Let people know so that people attend these events. So I definitely have a section here for the firearms training events. Legally Armed in Detroit, Rick Ector's efforts up there in Detroit. We got AmCon, which is sort of adjacent to gun rights policy, but that's not scheduled yet, so that's kind of a TBA. But then the Ambassador Academy is already scheduled, and KD's Train and Learn event is scheduled. If you know of other, industry like training events, please let me know. I've got a couple of rallies, 4 that have dates that I'm aware of already, and then a couple of more that like almost always happen that just haven't been announced yet. One of them being the Virginia rally, which is usually right during SHOT Show. So that look forward to that one being a quick, we should be seeing that one soon. And then of course the 2A events like gun rights policy and those kind of things. So all that's in here. And like I say, thanks to Clover for and I knew I had to work on this, but I didn't know where to start. So as I was live with Clover there for a while, we kind of just dug in and I kind of pulled all my notes together, and then now it's all set up. It's good to go. Like I said, there's only a couple that we're missing. These are pretty much updated on the website. So guncalendars.com is updated with all of these. I haven't updated things like birthdays and anniversaries of rifles being patented and stuff like that yet. I do that each month still. But all these events are in the calendar, so if you need a place to look for them and you don't want to dig through, because this is at the top of our Patreon today, it'll be buried, in a few days. So you can just go to guncalendars.com and all of this stuff is in there. There's a page on the gun show review that has all these listed as well with links. So if you want to chat about stuff like this, if you're looking for content, you want to chat about stuff that's actually happening instead of like whatever they tell us to be worried about. You want to promote stuff and let people start to prepare, then click on each of these. And I try to offer, when I can, as much information about the history of the event, past event locations, who created the events, and then it'll all tie in over to Minuteman once I have more time to play with it all. But anyway, so I just wanted to take some time to mention that is updated going into December. So that's pretty good. A lot of these things, it would take till March to get a date. Gun rights policy is the only one that's like consistently waits until later on in the year. But a lot of these had been really sketchy. And it's probably a factor, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably a factor that they all got canceled last year. So they probably already rescheduled their stuff way ahead of time. But it's been super nice for somebody that's trying to keep track of this stuff to be able to get it all. I mean, it's unusual. I guess that's why I'm so excited. It's unusual to have this many scheduled events known about in December, at the beginning of December, the year before. Anyway.
Yep.
All right, so then, let's see. Going to the show in Houston this weekend. I'll try to find that link here when I'm not talking. Let's see, then I'm going to go back then, unless Clover's got something.
Good.
Let's go back to... Okay, so Star Snoop Dogg said something earlier. I thought it was her. Is it this one? I like the people, which makes me subscribe. Maybe it wasn't that one then. So then, the giveaways. I guess that was about the YouTuber thing too. But it was Tara then who had said, boom, there it is. I have a cooking channel with a little 2A. So what do you think about the concept of having channels of different topics and then throwing some 2A in there? I guess take it any way you want. I wasn't necessarily thinking like as a gun channel or like as a YouTube channel, but just in general as like a way to spread the word or no awareness.
So it works the same way as we were talking about with Vince Dad a little bit with the gear. So if you can sprinkle it in there and still make it relevant and it does not overpower. So if you put out 5 or 6 or whatever recipe videos, cooking videos, and then you put out an entirely 2A related piece that it has absolutely zero to do with cooking. You're not even cooking while you're talking about it, for example, right? That's not good. that confuses the algorithm in relations to your channel, and we can go down a really deep rabbit hole with that, right? But if you can incorporate it while you're waiting on the water to boil, or you're waiting on, you know what I'm saying? Or if there's something interesting like, now we need a shot of parsley. Hey, speaking of shot, shot show's coming up, biggest industry event or something, or blah blah blah, or that's an industry thing. That's not too A related, but you see what I'm getting at about something, some way to segue into it, mentioning it in passing, or talking about it, or if there's something on that day and maybe you're making a special dish, right? Maybe you're making a dish and you're like, hey, I eat this this ties into your calendars, a little bit of whatever the Heller decision, or something, right? It's like, I eat this every day.
Wait, but basically what you're saying is you have a cooking channel, a barbecue channel, let's say. Let's say you'd have some kind, nobody wants anything like this, but let's say somebody had a barbecue channel and all they talked about was barbecue on it. Instead of saying barbecue topic, and then out of nowhere, SHOT Show is a trade show and it's so good or something. And then back to barbecue, that's going to be awkward and nobody's going to pay attention because they're going to think you uploaded on the wrong channel or something, right? But if you're saying you make another barbecue video, only this time you're like, hey, I'm making barbecue for when we travel to the industry trade show in Vegas. And then you go on to cook the rest of the barbecue, and then maybe the guest is somebody who goes to SHOT Show or something. And it's like, blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, you go to this show, and then maybe 4 words are said or something. Or at least, it's a cooking show still, right?
Or maybe just reach out. Maybe reach out to some 2A activists is what you do, right? Reach out to some 2A, like the Women of the DC Project is a good one. Maybe reach out to the Women of the DC Project. You can put together their series like this. Pick their brains of their favorite recipes, right? Or their favorite dishes. And then do a video. And I'm really good at telling other people a million things to do. But then maybe do a video like, it's whatever. Lasagna, let's say. I don't know, but let's just say it's a lasagna dish. And title your video, do it that today we're going to be making lasagna. And oh, by the way, this is a favorite dish of Cheryl Todd. Are you not familiar with Cheryl Todd? Well, she, runs Gun Freedom Radio as part of the DC Project. Here's what the DC Project does. Do this, of course, while you're cooking or mixing stuff up or doing something, right? So that could be an interesting incorporation into it there.
Then, of course, we're talking cooking because that's a cooking channel, but apply it to anywhere, right? Like this is so-and-so's van, or this is so-and-so's,
oh yeah,
I don't know, fish tank or something, yeah.
House, where they live, where they, not like physically where they live, but, the city they live in. If you travel, if you're doing a travel blog.
Is pimping a fish tank a thing? Because I feel like I should do a channel on pimping fish tanks, like a regular.
You probably could.
Fish tank. You come in and zap it up, make it fancy. Let's see. How pissed off would you be if you came home and somebody had screwed around with your fish tank? I can't imagine. It's been a long time since I had a fish tank, but I don't think I'd have been like, hey, thanks for taking what I wanted and turning it into something I never asked for and making my fish go in there. All right. So there was another one I thought. So again, if people have questions or whatever, this is a conversation. Invited something like 30 people. The link worked. Clover got in here. Let's see. So, I don't know what Sandhills shows is about. Does anybody know what Sandhills' show is about? View difference of firearm gear versus. I think you're trying to talk about that. You guys are talking back and forth about some YouTuber or gun tuber type of stuff. Some Stewart is out there.
Yeah, I had some back and forth. I forgot what he had asked out there, but I was trying to answer it.
All right, well, I was thinking about a way to do this would be to go backwards through like my community page, but I can do the same thing going backwards through my Patreon posts because that's basically my blog. So if I can figure out how to open it up and look at all of them. So we had, I was going to look at my wrap-ups. That's what it is. So I can just open this up. It's been a month of a bunch of suicide prevention Saturdays. Brooke Cheney does these shows Saturdays usually. I had one this last week that was live. So this is the month, I guess you could say, that she was introduced to StreamYard and using it to stream to both YouTube and Facebook. I think Barbecue, by doing his 2A Women Wednesday, kind of got that ball in motion. So there's some trickle or some ripple in the pond. Locked and Loaded, speaking of doing alternate channel stuff on their Locked and Loaded Latino's channel, they do their, I don't know what they call it, kids playing video games shows, and they'll put, they'll put the camera on while they're playing video games or whatever, and don't really talk about 2A stuff, but at least they're open to. I can't sit there and watch that the whole time. A bunch of riding shotgun with Charlies this month. Jason Stewart out there was on with Echo, so Echo's been out there. Echo's got a link, I think. He's been posting reviews or interviews with YouTubers and reloaders and gun community folks. I had a whole bunch of bullshit about paying attention to distractions in the news, which happen consistently, periodically. So we put a big emphasis every time a new generation probably comes along and gets overwhelmed with the media attention. Was that a media attention, diversion and all that? Who knows? It's a topic for all the shows that focus on that stuff. Let's see. We had Dragon Man had another successful month or season, I guess, of museum tours. He purchased a whole bunch of new land. Was that this month? Might have even been this month. And he's opened up kind of a couple of new things on that land. Speaking of that, I found a new gun museum and a couple of new YouTube channels this month. I'm just going back through my posts here on my Patreon, kind of using it as a blog. Coach jumped in. Thanks for jumping in. I don't know if you've been listening, if you got topics, or I haven't really seen too many topics pop up here from anybody out there.
Just got home from work, so I haven't been listening, unfortunately. So I'm a newbie here right now.
So earlier the year, somebody had posted about, or it was one of the forums did a lame job of posting about the money that the organizations bring in, and we went and researched that a little bit, just barely, and found that they found all their information from this website that just lists all the tax documents from nonprofit organizations across the board, like every kind of nonprofit. And because it's every kind of nonprofit, plenty of the gun Second Amendment focused ones are in there. So I just spent an afternoon opening those documents and posting them into a spreadsheet and then turning it into a graph, and we posted some of that stuff. I think that was this month. I had a bunch of stuff in here about Clover's interview with the guy from NSSF. I'm going to post a link to that. That was really good conversation, because the guy is not just an industry shill, let's say. Like, he's obviously something, because he was running Mossberg for a while, and now he runs NSSF and SAMI, the organization that keeps track of all of the standards and stuff, the industry standards. He's also running the industry facilitating organization, or whatever you call it, like the industry organization that kind of acts as a mediator between industry and government and customers, or to some extent. And anyway, it's an interesting organization, and instead of just giving you the standard, because he doesn't have nothing to sell. He's there and he's doing an awesome job, and he's competent and capable of explaining it. So it's just a great interview. And a couple of the questions that I asked had to do with the thing I'm about to bring up here, which is kind of people's opinion of these organizations and his ability to answer my questions directly and with clarity and impressively. Holy crap! Like this guy again. It's definitely worth listening to that. Did I just link to it?
Yeah. There's a link out there, and I was watching it live with you and asked a couple of questions, and he answered my questions just very, almost, I would say, perfectly. And that's the one thing that I think that was great about that is for the vast majority of people in our community, when they hear NSSF, they automatically go to SHOT Show. And he recognized that. He's like, I understand that, most people just think we do SHOT Show. Well, SHOT Show is their massive fundraiser, but NSSF is so important to our community, much more for the industry. They represent the industry. And I don't want to call them a lobbyist, but they almost are a lobbyist, but for the industry, not for the two-way, but for the gun industry. And they do so much great work. But yeah, that was one of the best conversations I've heard in a while.
So, for example, of the competency, one of the questions I had asked and Clover relayed was with the NRA being the brunt of everybody's anger. I didn't put it this way. However, I said, with the NRA going away, or with everyone willing to watch it go away, is NSSF planning on that, prepared for that, interested in even contemplating it? And his answer was something to the effect of, well, we'll do whatever's necessary, but if you want us to do everything the NRA's do and expect us to be as big as the NRA. And that was a pragmatic or like a practical answer that I can dig.
Yeah,
so
and they're not even close to the size of manpower, infrastructure. I think that you're talking about that website about money brought in, and the money brought in was like what, 25 million for NSSF and like 500 million for NRA. I'm just, I'm not, whatever it was.
35 million for NRA, something like 11, something like 20 something for NSSF, but 11 of that is SHOT Show only, SHOT Show because it's expensive. And then the next one would be if you add Second Amendment Foundation and its sister group, the Citizens Committee, together, then they bring in a little over, let's say 7-8 million. And then the next one is NAGR, which no one's ever heard of. They bring in $6 million. No one's ever heard of them. NAGAR, all they do is go around taking credit for stuff. Although the NRA gets the reputation for it, it's almost as if someone is spending $6 million to, anyway, so there's $6 million gone in that hole. And then you got GOA and making like 5 million, something like that. It's 5 million something. And then FPC, which is like 2 million or something. And then every other organization you've ever heard of, nothing, like less than hundreds of thousands, way less than hundreds of thousands, probably tens of thousands. So yeah, just a massive scale. So it's one of the things we looked up. Maybe it was last month. It might have been this month. But so the NSSF guy was able to dig those answers answer those directly.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was a great conversation. And the funny thing is for the last year and a half, 2 years, whatever, all the people, we've had this discussion privately in different chats and all that, and publicly, but we've talked about all these people saying, wish the NRA would burn and the GOA can take over. The GOA, SAF, FPC, all these other ones combined are not going to be able to handle the workload the NRA does. Now, am I saying the NRA is perfect? Not a chance. But we need to understand that our community, our industry, our way of life needs, in some way, some shape or form or fashion, needs the NRA to stay relevant. And that is, and you talked about the other night, and it's very, very true. If the NRA goes away, whether or not it's true or not, the other side, the anti-gun side, will use it as a battle cry. We killed the NRA, and we can't have that.
Yeah, well, they're going to do that. We got to be prepared. They're going to do that anyway. But yeah, that's another point that we don't think about, or it doesn't seem like it's brought up enough. That it's not a void. It's not like when something that spends $300 and something million, $350 million a year, that doesn't just disappear and get absorbed by organizations that are at the $6 million range without the other side, like you just said, taking credit or even opportunity there. They're not idiots. They're going to use that to some extent to prove something or to do something. So anyhow, it's a kind of it can't happen. The NRA's not going to blink our eyes and it's going to disappear or nothing. But anyway, so speaking of that, one of the other things that came out this month was I think the guy's name is Tim Mack. No, yeah, Tim Mack wrote a book called Misfire: Inside the Downfall of the NRA. I can't afford to buy shit right now, but whenever I can, I'm going to buy that book. And if it's not already on audio, I'll read it for folks. I've been attempting to read 2A books that aren't on audio for people that are interested in not having to read them. So anyway, that one is supposedly an interesting book that gets some behind the scenes on the situation. Not friendly, not unfriendly, but just legit, I think, from what I've heard. I haven't read it. So that was this month, though, and that's going to change the playing field. That's going to change the game. We'll see how many people read it and how many people listen to people who've read it and what those summaries are all about. You know, are they there to? Well, we'll see what those summaries are about. Let's see. So what else do we got? I'm reading the weekly wrap-ups, basically, that I've posted. So I'm going through a couple of those. Alan Anchor is over there. That has much to do with 2A, but they have a lot of 2A related stuff you can put on to help start conversations and things like that. Crump had posted a video about the 500,000 comments that were submitted to the ATF on those 2 different comment periods that never before had been done concurrently. And that response, 500,000 comments, was processed in 2 weeks by 50 people. So Crump went live, or not live, but Crump had a video where he kind of did the math and showed, I believe, that it took about 30 seconds per comment if the people took 1 hour breaks for lunch and worked 8-hour days. So is that realistic? So that's the kind of stuff that if you're not just paying attention to what they're telling you to pay attention to, you might check out.
Well, I promise you they didn't work more than 8 hours a day, and they did take an hour lunch. I mean, if they're a bureaucracy, they're not going to work more than they have to.
I would say, something about overtime, because I don't know how it went, but I would imagine if there was overtime, it would have been incorporated. I honestly don't remember. It was like the 7th or something. That was like the first. That was from the second week of the month, and a lot of stuff's happened. So I don't remember the details, but I would assume that if they included overtime, it would have been accounted for, because he was doing it more of like is it even possible for this to have happened? I think more than was it worth the cost, and that's another way to look at it. I don't know if anybody's thought about exploring how much it costs to do all this theater gun control garbage. These fake gun control efforts cost tons and tons of money, and is that an angle? Is that a tactic to challenge the existing gun controls and the existing infringements, to suggest or to make them justify the costs and what that cost could have paid for, like the opportunity cost? Is that what it's called? Whatever that's called.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I didn't see his video, but maybe you can. I mean, if you remember, I mean, I would imagine if you have 50 people in 2 weeks, that's what, 10,000 responses per person in 2 weeks. There's no way they're reading any of those. They're just taking them probably from unread to read. And there's, like you said, 30 seconds at the most. There's no way they're reading any of these, which is sad, because you sit there and say, okay, and like you said, is it worth our time and our effort to make logical statements, plan them out, write them out, make sure that they're easily read, backed up with facts and all of that, for someone who's just going to click a button and say, okay, it's been read? It is kind of, I don't know, frustrating, maybe a word.
Well, I mean, yeah, I hear you. I was just going to say, and then I don't know what the word would be after many, many, many times of that.
That's right.
Frustrating again. I was going to say there was a bunch of stuff earlier in the month about New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, I think, versus the Bruin, whatever that is. So whatever that court case is going on in New York, the validity of CCW.
Yeah, I think that one, I don't remember how it was ruled on, but that one was actually a pretty big one, because that was about the state, or the city of, I think it was the city of New York, and how difficult it is to get a concealed carry permit. And
right? Whether that's constitutional.
Do you have to have
So
proof of justification to get it, or is it your right? I'm not sure how it was ruled on, but yeah, that was a pretty big one.
It hasn't been ruled on. It was discussed, or whatever they call it.
Okay, so they just heard the arguments. Okay,
Right.
okay.
So the outcome is expected in June 22. But that sort of happened this month. We had been anticipating it or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then, like I say, a lot of interviews with Riding Shotgun with Charlie. If you're not following that dude, I think I can click on this. Quite a few interviews with Gun Freedom Radio. Also doing Second Amendment focused. Mostly interviews at this point. They're this is the wrong one. That's I was linked to Clover accidentally. I want to link to them. Where'd it go? I thought I had a Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Okay, well, you can find it. Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Maybe DJ can find it. Did Clover and Riding Shotgun with Charlie both interview Ashley this year or this month? I guess they both did. I was clicking on.
I know Clover did. I wasn't sure about Charlie, but yeah, if he did, and they both did, yeah.
Speaking of firsts for this month, this dude out here started doing live chats, focusing on the Kalashnikov and AKs, his collection and collecting, and keeping 2A on the priority on the radar. It's pretty cool. Also does good stuff. Like it's, worth your time spending some time over there watching it. It's neat. I personally enjoy watching the kind of questions and the topics of conversation, I guess, as the new folks, because it's not all younger folks, just the newer folks get interested in Kalashnikovs and AKs. Totally different reasons than the people I'm familiar with do, or did, or the people from my, I don't even want to call it, because they're not all the same age. It's not a generation, but the people that came into it at the end of the assault weapons ban were coming into AKs for a different reason and with a different set of resources than folks coming into AKs, as a thing to collect or be interested in 2021, right? What is that? 2004 and 2021, almost 20 years different. It can't be that old. So, let's see, this one was October. So then that was it. Pot of Gold Auctions, speaking of Cheryl Todd, is having their giant auction in a couple of days at the first Tuesday in December, I believe. December 6th, I think. So, again, awesome Second Amendment advocate. I guess it's not the first. It is the, what the hell is this? Their auction must be on the 4th. A dedicated Second Amendment advocate for a long time, very active, participating and supporting others. And they do an amazing auction. I'm not going to bother looking at it because I don't want this to turn into like a sales pitch or nothing, but definitely worth your while if you're interested in purchasing. For sure, check it out. But if you're interested in just checking out something that's going to be really cool, watch their auction because there's a lot of neat stuff. And it's a totally different scenario than, or different environment to watch than like the Rock Island auctions, which are snooty and different. I mean, they're cool too, but they're different. Oh, thanks, Kingpin's dropping links for us. Appreciate that. Kingpin, speaking of that, has been dropping some interesting videos too. I'm going to go ahead and play one of them because I can. Probably copyright me, but okay. I played a video of Alan Anchor. Like I played Alan Anchor's video on my live show. And then the next day, YouTube goes, "Do you want us to copyright them?" And their video was like 3 days older than my video. So I played a 3-day-old video in my live stream. And then the day later, YouTube was asking me if I wanted to remove their video because they stole it from me.
So they asked you if they wanted to copyright their video, not the other way around?
Like if they stole a piece of my video 3 days early and played it, that's what YouTube thought. Yeah.
You gotta love the algorithm, don't you?
I don't think I guess it's algorithm. I don't know what that particularly is. It must be, I guess, yeah. But it's dumb for sure because it can't see dates or something. Anyhow, I'm going
That's
to go
funny.
to his channel to find it. Because
Well, let me ask you this. Had you scheduled your live stream before there, like a few days ahead of time?
No, I was
Because
just doing my stream live, dude. I'm just saying. I just decided.
yeah,
No,
that's
I did
crazy.
link to them. I linked to them. You know how I do. I did link to their video, and then I played their video. But that's even worse because I linked to their video 3 days before my video existed, and then 3 days later, I created a video and showed that little. It was like I don't know, 2 minutes long or something. It was them putting a decal on a window, and then and I said I'm watching their video, and I walked away so I could get something to drink or whatever, and then came back. So it literally was just them. It was their video. And then I was done. Anyway, so yeah, YouTube's funny. There was obviously they're just stupid or whatever, but just an example of how they're dumb. All right, so this is not dumb. This is an example of this dude Kingpin right here. Who's laughing about it. This is the kind of stuff he posts over there. And you can use YouTube in different ways, and you can be effective in communicating in different ways. Right? Here's a way that Kingpin does, and hopefully it'll play because it's kind of quiet. I'm gonna have to turn this up as much as I can. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
What's the difference between needs and wants? Like, you really need both of them, but what I've figured out in my lifetime is that needs keep you grounded. Wants keep you motivated. Like, you need a healthy balance between the two. Like, you ever seen anybody that doesn't want anything out of life? They typically throw their whole lives away. Oh, I say you need both. Because you want. You got want. What you want. I know people that are super on, what you want. You need wants. But you got to check your wants. You got to know how to put that shit in perspective, balance it out, and then line your ducks up to get what you want. But right now, it's what you need. What you need, that shit gonna keep you grounded like that tree. But what you want is gonna keep you growing upward like that tree. That's why I say you need balance. You just see me say, I want a whole lot. That keeps me motivated. That's life. And I like the fact that I don't have it. Because when I work to get it, that makes that victory that much more sweeter. That shit's sweeter.
Yes, that's Kingpin. That's not Kingpin. That's him sharing some dude's video, I guess. I don't know whose video that is. It's
Barricade Garage. Yeah, it's awesome.
So, yeah, that was an awesome clip. So Kingpin goes out and finds slices like that and shares them, and yeah, good stuff. Anyway, so that was some of the stuff that I seen throughout the month, and posted, I guess, and shared on my shows and stuff. We've gone for an hour now. I don't have to prove nothing here, so I don't have to force nothing. I've asked a couple of times for people to throw topics out there, but getting a lot of links and things. Channel's full of copyrights. I have plenty of room. Yeah, me too. You can fly a pretty plane really high in the sky and everybody can like it, or you can get from here to there. Let's just get from here to there. Let's see. So Charlie, so I guess y'all are linking to some of the stuff we mentioned, so I appreciate that. And looking through here to see if there's any comments. One, prop, Kansas City, you mentioned barbecue and Central.
They were talking earlier before that comment about having a yearly Every Second Matters meetup, and I think he was saying I proposed Kansas City kind of in the middle.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this one. Why don't we have an annual Every Second Matters meeting somewhere and have a meet and greet, a big barbecue? Well, one, I'm a vegan, so I would not go to a big barbecue. I'm not interested in that. We did create a thing, though, called 2A Rally. Where is it? Does it exist anymore? So I don't care about a meet and greet at all. But I do think that it's frustrating to have gone to SHOT Show since 2005 and to have gone to the Gun Rights Policy Conference since 2015 and to go to AmCon when I'm invited and to go to other organizations and, I guess not organizations, but other events and things that I've been to, and then have people tell me, oh, but this isn't the place for 2A or that kind of crap. Oh, we got too much on our plates or whatever. What isn't 2A rally? What is it? It's
2A Summit.
Summit, thank you.
Yep.
I'm like, 2A rally is freaking Pennsylvania.
Yeah, no, just the 2A Summit. We tried that, in 2018 at SHOT Show or 20, whatever it was. Yeah.
I think it was 18. So basically, I was frustrated. Well, actually, no, in 17 or 18, we were going to have Bob sit in a room. Like, that was the try.
Yeah, that was 18. Yeah, that was 18. Yeah.
So the deal is that the question was, why don't we have a barbecue? Like I said, I don't really care if you have barbecue or not, but I don't think every second matters. At least I'm not interested in any part of every second matters where everybody just gets together and talks shit, because we do that online constantly. In fact, I don't like that part of meeting up, because when we meet up and talk shit, it's an ultimate waste of time and a resource, because we have ultimately more we can do when we're in person than talk and just talk. I mean, we do that literally every single night. So I have absolutely no interest in that. In fact, I loathe the concept of just getting together for the shit of it. But getting together and doing something about it is ultimately effective. And that's what I'm all about. In fact, I think that you don't do that in one meeting. I don't think that happens once a year. I think more and more that it needs to be a logarithm. It needs to be a system that is established, that can be taken or that can be accomplished anywhere at any time. So at any event. And that's what 2A Summit started, well, is now at least. It started out to be, since we knew that SHOT Show wasn't a Second Amendment activity, but there was plenty of Second Amendment people there. We also knew that there was plenty of things happening at SHOT Show that keep people busy and are scheduled. So, you're competing, and if you tried to do something, it would be difficult to have like an event coordinated during SHOT Show, because it hadn't already been established. So it would be adding to the pile no matter what. Plus, depending on people's priorities and schedules and stuff, you'd never be able to schedule an event or even a couple of events, ideally, at even well. Like, there's just nowhere to put them that don't conflict with multiple other things. In fact, everything that happens at SHOT Show conflicts with something else. Literally everything. Like everything. So there's just a lot of stuff crammed into a week. So the idea was, how do you accomplish something instead of just griping about it and acknowledging defeat? Because screw that. Fuck that. So what we said was, or what we came up with was, let's get a bunch of people, throw a couple of bucks in, so nobody's really paying for it, but it gets paid for. Let's buy a room in the hotel that SHOT Show is in. Unfortunately, SHOT Show's in a stupid fancy hotel, so a room costs like a lot of money. I forget what it was, $1,000, something stupid. So we were going to get a room at SHOT Show for a day or something. I don't remember, maybe a couple of days. Was it a whole week?
I think we wanted to do a week, but then we started looking at prices. It's like, okay, maybe 2 days, I
forget the details, but the idea was to get a room close by that could just be a room, and it wouldn't be an event that you had to go to, and it wouldn't have to be something that you added to your schedule, but instead it could be something to add to your list of things to do while you're there. And it could also be dynamic and be open and available. So if someone was like, hey, can I do an interview about a 2A topic? Sure, but it's noisy here. I got a place we can go. Or, oh, we got 6 or 8 people and we want to have a conversation about 2A. Where can we go to like plug into a computer and go to the bathroom and have our own food? Oh, I got a place that's steps away. And it was provided by the crowd, the people that are interested in seeing something like this be facilitated. We just thought of it too soon. Like, we thought of it now, and SHOT Show was in a couple of weeks, so we just weren't able to facilitate it and get much interest in it. But at the time, we had this guy from Canada, Bob, who's, he's out there right now. But Bob was willing to sit in the room all during SHOT Show and miss SHOT Show for the most part. He was willing to sacrifice. Can you imagine being in a room above SHOT Show and wanting to be in SHOT Show, but sitting in a rooms for another country's Second Amendment? That's what we had. But we don't have that anymore. But at least, he's not in Vegas to be able to sit in the room or whatever. But that's what we had the opportunity that first year. Didn't happen, but whatever, not everything happens. You got to learn from mistakes, right? So we had a mistake. We had a miscalculation and came up with the idea too late. But the idea was then that 2A Summit concept would happen at every show. If it was Wanamaker, if it was a big gun show, if it was another industry show, if it was a shoot, if it was a hunting event, you could say, we're going to put a 2A summit tag on this, have some 2A discussion, have something, and then add it to a blog post over at 2A summit, add it to a continuing list of content that gets created with that concept of when industry or community gets together and we take a moment to deliberately focus on the Second Amendment or what we can accomplish here together, what we can, what resources are we bringing together, what combinations just happened, what did we learn that can be applied to the Second Amendment. Let's not just let that go into the ether above cigars and drinks, which is where 99% of that goes, trust me. Instead, it gets written down once in a while and posted. And I don't really care about credit or, results even, but just an effort to start accumulating some of that and an effort of focusing on it because it doesn't move on from there until it starts. And right now, tons of, you've been there, Ghost knows, there's tons of interesting things happen. Can you imagine all the stuff that happens? But because there's not a thing or a focus on the Second Amendment, people go, oh, that would have been good for Second Amendment advocacy, or nobody actually says that, but so that things that could have been good for something, nobody's thinking about a place that they could put it, so no one's thinking about putting it anywhere, so it just goes in here and went out the other. So anyway, that's the concept of it at this point. So that's what I would suggest. That's why I'd be much more interested in having Every Second Matters kind of focus on this concept of every time the community gets together, every time there's a group of anyone. It doesn't have to be you've got to be this famous or this rich or this tall or this obnoxious to be able to do it, right? Like you just have to have an interest in doing it and then sharing it, archiving and sharing. But that's my goal. I don't really think we talked about Every Second Matters isn't designed to be a club or a group or anything as much as an awareness campaign. So having an annual meetup is contrary to it. Having every single 2A rally is Every Second Matters. In my mind,
I think that it'd be kind of cool if we try to do it again instead of calling the 2A summit. Maybe call the Every Second Matters Summit.
Well, then I'd get on that.
I don't know. It's an idea. Just.
Oh, you mean like at each thing? Because then here's the problem. Every Second Matters was started by me and a couple other people that many people hate because we don't go around loving everything they do. And I'm honest and I'm real, right? And other people that I know are that way. And some of the people that started this are even worse than me or different than me in different ways, right? But yeah, we're ornery and we don't get along with everybody because we've been burned by people and we've seen the way people behave in real life. And when money gets on the table, we've seen what people will do. And you know what I'm saying? It's all about 2A. It's not about big channels. It's not about popularity and fame, right? So Every Second Matters is probably, that's why there's 7 people watching right now and not 700 or 7,000, right? All we're talking about is how to push an awareness for our Second Amendment once a month. I won't get into it. There's a reason why this is the size it is. So I would never, that's why you have to do it as something else. And somebody else honestly would have to come up with it. Nobody's going to take my idea. But that concept of doing something, I don't think you tag it with the name of the organization that came up with it. That's that whole fame thing. Because then, well, I don't want to go to it because they put their name on it. I guess that was what the 2A rally in DC in 2019 was suggested. That's what they claimed it was nobody owns it, nobody claims it. It's you just show up because you like the Second Amendment and there's no banners. And it was. It's just that it didn't stay that way.
Yeah, the idea of the 2A summit and a 2A rally is great. And I like the idea of not just doing it SHOT Show, but anytime there's an event, whether it's at NRAM or GRPC or Wanamaker or wherever, anyone that goes to, it doesn't have to be anyone in particular, but anyone that goes to these events, because not everyone goes to all the events. But if someone goes to the event and says, if nothing else, just starts a live chat and keeps your camera on and as people are walking by, hey, you got a second to talk to 2A. That could be, instead of like, hey, come to this room or whatever, just out in the lobby or something, set up a live stream, keep it going for 8 hours And as people walk by, say, "Hey, you got a couple seconds? What does the Second Amendment mean to you?" And just have this live stream going. At least you can archive the different size people at all these different events of what the 2A mean or something like that. The idea is awesome. I love the fact that anyone can really do it, and anyone can do it at any event, and multiple people can do it at one event. That it's getting more exposure if you do it that way.
When you described that, I was just thinking, you remember Dude Bro? Is that the name of that guy's channel? No. Is it Dude Bro? No, something. Anyway, this one guy had a channel where he wore sunglasses and he would just go to places and interview people.
Just out of the
Remember?
blue, that'd be. I don't know.
Oh,
I
no,
mean, there's a
not
lot
out
of
of the
yeah.
blue. Sorry, it was not out of the blue. Sorry, it was during the election with Trump and Hillary. Was that election?
Oh, okay, yeah. So he was at places where there were going to be people there to talk.
Yeah. He went to rallies and
Gotcha.
things and
Okay.
stuff. It's just that he went there with like just a black T-shirt and sunglasses. He kind of looked like the guy from, dang it, I can't remember, where he runs out, or where the guy from Top Gun is wearing the shirt and socks, and he comes out with the microphone.
Oh, Risky Business.
Yeah, it looks like the guy from Risky Business because he's got sunglasses on. I could have just said he looked like, that guy, Tom Cruise. But anyway, he would just go up and not have an agenda, basically. And he would say, "So what do you think about, or why are you here?" I think is the kind of questions he asked. And then people would foam at the mouth or just y'all fumbled. It was just a kind of a man on the street sort of real unfiltered view of some of the folks there, I guess. Anyway, I can't think of that guy's name, but it sounds like that kind of a show where you just go up and you ask somebody, or if you ask somebody a consistent question like that at an event like SHOT or someplace where people are expecting and then willing to be on a channel or video like that. But if that could be a neat, I guess just a segment, but it could almost be a neat channel, I think, to just go to events. And like NSSF should do that, honestly. That would be like a good task for NSSF because it's their event. But if they put someone out to just go around asking people, what does the Second Amendment mean to you? And then just had a channel or something, or a playlist, I guess, that would have those. It'd be neat. I mean, it wouldn't be neat for everybody, but just be interesting for people who did want to dig into it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That might be something that I try to do at SHOT Show this year, is maybe stand outside, downstairs, or outside the media room, or downstairs in front of the dungeon, just in the lobby there. Have my camera on a tripod and just grab people and say, "Hey, you got 2 seconds?" And that could be interesting. Spend an hour or two down there and try to get as many people in an hour or two that you can possibly get, and just get people, because there's people from all over the world at SHOT Show. So when you hear the Second Amendment, I'm going to have to explain what the Second Amendment is if it's someone from the Netherlands or something that's there as a buyer. But ask maybe from a country that doesn't have a Second Amendment what that means to them. That'd be kind of cool.
Nobody at SHOT Show is going to know what the Second Amendment is. They're in the business.
Well, what I'm saying is if I just pull them away I'm not going to have them sit down and have a soda and have a food for them. But if someone's walking by, "Hey, you got a second to talk about the Second Amendment?" I might be able to grab 10 people in an hour and just get a 1 or 2 minute clip, from these different people. It's worth a try. That'd be kind of interesting to do, actually.
Oh, no, I know that would work. I'm just saying, I think everyone who goes there knows what the Second Amendment is all I'm saying. You're not going to find it.
I would think so, but I'm just saying that if there are buyers from the Netherlands or Belgium or something, and they know what the Second Amendment is, but they don't have experience in their country, that could be really interesting to hear what they think of our Second Amendment.
Kingpin saying, "Why not do that in regular public?" I don't know. I mean, you could, I guess. It would just be more like watching Jay Leno, because people wouldn't know what the hell you're talking about, I think, in regular public. Or they'd get it confused once in a while, or they'd be weird or hate it, right, or something. But in SHOT Show, it would be, I think, more interesting just for me, because it would be, like you said, all those different variety of people. And if you're not expecting it, you're just like, what's this guy going to ask me? Because he's got a microphone or whatever. And then,
right.
then you answer it. It's going to be a real answer, right?
Oh, he's not asking me about what's my favorite gun that I see. He's asking me about the Second Amendment. I haven't been thinking about that. And it would be, like you said, it'd be like a real answer for sure.
I wonder if that's a thing, like as an interview technique, if you should go, "I'm going to ask you about the Second Amendment in this video. Do you want to do it?" And then you're like, "Okay." And then you go give them like 2 warm-ups, like, what was your favorite gun? And, what's your favorite color? You know, just 2 questions that are kind of to get them
icebreakers. Yeah, sure.
Get them talking and get them used to the pace or something. Get you used to how the guy talks because you're going to be meeting the person first. And then also you've already told them, so their brain is also figuring out what they're saying. So potentially, if they're really thinking, they can kind of get ready. You know, I'm going to answer these 2 questions on the way to that question. You know what I'm saying? Like it could just be I don't know. I just got that from when we were talking to Brooke the other day. Barbecue was asking, like, how do I cheat? How can I ask a bunch of questions so that when he was doing an interview with Lauren, like, how can I ask her questions or something that will be good questions or whatever? And Brooke's advice was before the interview, ask if she'd prefer a interview style where you ask questions and, you know, give person opportunity to take a break, or if it's that you'd prefer an interview style where I just ask you a question and let you go. Because think about if you ask Clover, or if you didn't ask Clover, right, and you let Clover go, he'll just go, right? But there's some people where if you go, here's an open-ended question, and I'm just going to sit back and smoke a cigarette while you have 20 minutes to answer. You know, they answer in 4 seconds, and then they're feeling like the spotlight's on them, and they're all. But they'd rather you not interrupt them, but you know, hey, what's this? And then what's this? And then what's this? And then, you know, because some people are going to be more, you know, that's going to appeal to them more. And I never really thought about it.
Yeah, I do that when I do interviews on like the Jarhead podcast. I'll do some rapid response, like, "Hey, who's your favorite superhero? What was your first car? Is a hot dog a sandwich? What's the Second Amendment mean to you?" And you're like, "Oh, snap!" You know, you kind of catch them off guard there. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so I didn't mean to leave hang there, but yeah.
That's all. I thought I lost you for a second.
I just unmuted and then yawned at the same time, and then that was weird, and then I muted again. So anyway, yes, obviously nobody's jumping in, and I'm pretty sure I started at the time I said I was going to start at, and I'll go check. Well, I'll go check. I don't think.
Yeah, you've been going for an hour and 37 minutes, basically.
So the idea is to chat about the second, and we've done that. The idea is to create a place for others who might want to chat about it to jump in. We've had some outstanding conversations in prior years and months and opportunities and whatnot. We had a pretty good chat today, so it's not like we're sitting here with total dead air. And thanks, I didn't have to say that stuff all the entire time. That's good. It's not my goal. Why can't I find my sent mails? It looked like it went out, so... I did get one mail delivery return thingy, or did I get more than one? No, I got one from a mailbox that says it's full. Seems like a mailbox that's neglected, perhaps. But yeah, nobody's really posting anything. It was the interview with Lauren Hartnett that we were talking about. Yep. Very good interview, in my opinion. Even though Barbecue did it. Kingpin saying that's the point. Regular people vote in much larger numbers. Yeah, I suppose. You're only going to get a sub portion or something, you know what I mean? Like a channel that just went around asking people, that might be interesting. Well, the data set would be interesting, and I guess some people would watch those interviews, but they probably wouldn't be all that interesting. They would probably be informative. Maybe that's the word. But it would probably be pretty boring watching people that weren't upset about anything just offer an opinion for a long, long time. Or many, many people offer a short opinion. All right, well, the only other thing I could think of, I think happened today when Crump was chatting. Well, I guess it's every second matter, so it doesn't matter. I can talk about what happened yesterday and today too. But it wasn't just what happened in November. But Crump interviewed the dude who, well, at least the dude who publicly posted downloading the comments, 500,000-ish comments from the ATF, which took a while. You had to download them in segments, I guess, or in like batches. And then you won't want to hear this, Smeggy. We're talking about spreadsheets and tabulating data and things like that. The guy that downloaded all the comments from the 2 comment periods and then put them into some sort of computer wizardry and then magically using a computer crystal pulled out all of the data from it, like, you know, how many of them were good or bad, and putting all kinds of search terms in there, extrapolated all kinds of data, and then he put it into all kinds of charts, and he made it available on the nerd internet so anybody can just look at it. And now we can compare that with, you know, whatever we're going to see as consequence or whatever they use the comment periods to justify, or however we want to look at it. So anyway, that happened. It didn't happen today. I don't think it happened yesterday. It's the whatever Crumps video that looks like a guy in a hoodie made out of the Matrix. It's that one. Oh, Ghost jumped out. So everybody's tag teaming every second matter. So I appreciate everybody jumping in though, making it so I don't have to talk on my own. I was about to shut it down unless you got topics or whatever. I've been chatting quite a bit today, but I'm talk 2A all day if you want to chat 2A.
I don't have anything particular. I was just jumping in. I didn't realize you were almost done.
No worries. I sent the link out, like, you know, I think early enough today for people to find it, but yeah, we're hitting 2 hours here. It's an hour and 40 something minutes. So yeah, I'm just talked out. Clover was in here for a bit. Ghost jumped in. But, you know, blabbing. I guess this is also last every second matters for the year, but I'm not about to read all through my posts throughout the year or nothing.
It would be interesting. What, just your gut feeling, how was 21 like for the 2A? Like just
outstanding. You know. One of the best years for 2A we've ever had. For sure. Definitely.
I agree. I think we had a lot of good traction with, you know, some court cases going up to the Supreme Court. I have high hopes for the New York, the carry permit thing, constitutional carry in a couple places. Like, I think it was pretty good.
I guess all that too. I care less about some of that because that's going to come and that's going to go. We're going to have wins and losses there, but I'm looking at it. We had the Ambassador Academy. We had the DC project had an up training thing because they weren't able to go to DC. They started the state level chair people or whatever to call themselves. We've got KD did his train and learn. So we've got people doing that. We had the Girl in a Gun. I believe it went from 300 to 400 ladies showed up in Colorado to get up trained this year, turning ladies into firearms instructors with a deliberate focus in the what's it called, the agenda and the syllabus, whatever it's called. The part of the training was Second Amendment advocacy. Well-armed women grew, and those are just the ones I keep track of off the top of my head, and there's tons more. We had advocates who all over the place who are individuals who are too numerous to remember, so I put them on as many as I can on Minuteman so we can remember them all. But there's tons of people who think about it, had to start working remotely last year in 20. And then this year they mastered working at home and using these online shared forums and stuff. So we have a tremendous step forward. Unfortunately, we got a couple of organizations, just like in any situation, we got a couple of them that suck and they blow chunks, and they're right here and they're just as savvy and tech aware as all the rest. And they're going to be annoying and frustrating and cause division and blah, blah, blah. But they're also going to challenge and show weaknesses and, require all kinds of all kinds of solutions, I guess I'm looking for. So yeah, it's been a tedious, shitty year in all the best possible ways. I don't want to say every, but just about every adversarial thing was met, not perfectly, but certainly matter of factly. Lots of growth and not a shit, at least in my awareness, not a shit ton of waste of time either. A really good non-coordinated, a really good effort for a non-coordinated situation. Really, really good year.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out when you were talking about the groups and stuff. Rick Ector, the guy that does training in Detroit,
4,000.
they had their best year. Yeah,
doubled after doubling, and not out of fear, out of empowerment and awareness. Rick is amazing. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that, and Tony going into taking his awareness and his what's the word? Oh, well, awareness, I guess, but what I'm trying to say, familiarization, like an opportunity to shoot firearms to people that are, not firearms people, with 2A, 4E, the second is for everyone, shoots, where he brings anybody who's interested a chance to fiddle with guns, and if they want the opportunity to shoot them as well. And taking that around so that ranges can see the success. It's all about walking people, holding people's hands. And half of it is the regular people that don't shoot guns, but the other half of it is the industry and the infrastructure. If ranges can't figure out that they gotta appeal to new people, or they should be appealing to new people, and how to appeal to new people if they know they want to, but they just don't know how, they're not new. People that own gun shops are not new gun owners for the most part. So expecting them to behave so that they can, do well with new gun owners isn't something to scorn them for not doing. It's something you teach them by example how to do, and that's what Tony does, right? His projects like him and the instructors that are, doing that was amazing this year. There's tons of growth. Could have gotten really crazy and weird with paranoia and fear, and it didn't. So, at least not anywhere as bad as it has in the past, or it could have been. So thanks for bringing that one up too. So yeah, lots of organizations that were already doing well, started really doing well, and not necessarily because we got some fake Bloomberg garbage. It's not like an organization that brings in $6 million every year went around sprinkling that money around. They kept it. They kept every bit of it, probably spending it on something greedy or selfish, I'm sure. But it's not like we had a rich organization just redistributing the money. We had those individuals empowering themselves, figuring it out. That's better than, a lot of the alternatives could have been this year. Oh, DJ saying Asian Pacific. No. It's APAGOA, Asian and Pacific Islander. How does that turn into Asian and Pacific Islander? Asian Pacific American. I didn't know that one. So I guess a Pacific Islander would be somebody that lives there, and a Pacific American is somebody that came from the Pacific Islands? Question mark? So anyway, APAGOA, that's how I remember it. Whenever you listen to Chris say it, it's way easier. APAGOA. And they got created this year. The NFT thing happened this year. Weird electric version of spending money on things.
Yeah, I'm definitely encouraged by seeing the more grassroots approach. Some of the smaller organizations are getting a little bit bigger, and a lot more smaller ones are being created. It's one of those things, we're not stuck with the NRA or nobody. There are definitely a lot of players in the fight. Hopefully they can coordinate well together. And maybe we've taken some steps this year in doing that. So I think it's been a good year.
Yeah, I don't think we took big steps towards that, but we haven't taken any steps backwards or nothing. We just didn't do anything specifically towards that. It usually takes a minute for everybody to figure out what exists before they can start working with it, though. So it's, I don't want to say to be expected. It's just frustrating that everybody didn't just have superpowers to know where everything was going to be, so that they could be ready for it and join hands and become 2A Voltron already. But when are we going to get a 2A Voltron already?
If just listening to us all the time, they would already know it, because we solve the Second Amendment every single month. We just need people to listen to us.
You put FPC in the middle, GOA on one leg, and let's put NRA in the middle just to piss everybody off. NRA's in the middle, their core, the structure, the backbone of it all is the NRA. That'll piss everybody off. Then you got GOA on one leg and SOA on the other leg. SAF on the other leg, right? So GOA and SAF are about $6 million each, so that's good. Then you stick NSSF is the one big arm. It's one of these mechs that has like a giant rocket arm or something. So NSSF is a big giant arm. And then instead of having one other arm like a human robot, it's going to be a robot with two big legs, a big giant arm, and then multiple little arms somehow. So it's going to have, the different organizations that you can think of. Unfortunately, it has a $6 million tumor hanging off of its ball sack, which is the one that lives in Colorado and just sucks $6 million out of the community. But whatever, it has to be incorporated in there. But the rest of the giant mech robot will be pretty much mobile and able to attack and do interesting things because it'll have that big arm for doing big work, and then it'll have all those smaller arms in various sizes and hands and attachments and stuff to do all kinds of other tasks. And then we'll have better than a Voltron, some kind of giant mech squid thing. I don't know if it's a squid, but maybe it could be a squid, maybe a giant octopus thing. Maybe rework that into a giant octopus or something, crab, I don't know. Some kind of a mech. But once they all work together, it's formidable. That's what I'm saying. Now, here's the trick. Do you have it run by one individual? Let's call him WLP, just to give him some initials. And then that one person sits in like the head of the whole thing? Or do you have it more like, I think it's Voltron, where there isn't Voltron, where there's like an individual runs each leg or each limb? I guess I can't remember my robot monsters or my robot assemblages. I don't know what that would be called.
Yeah, Voltron's like that, or like the Power Ranger thing. It's the same thing where each individual works one part of it.
So yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of going off topic there, I guess, but after a couple hours. So DJ is saying NFT, non-fungible tokens equals odd. ... distraction. Let's see, a few months ago could be something, somehow 2A. What are we saying there? So you think he's saying, is it a distraction? Like, do you think this was thrown out there to be a distraction?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it was just a new and different way to express, all sorts of different stuff. It's just kind of like the Second Amendment doing, catching up with the times. It's like kind of new and nerdy, and some people like them, some people don't. So,
or is he saying or is he saying the concept of thinking that NFTs are odd is the distraction? In other words, the people that insist on being like, I don't understand NFTs, because that caters to the people that don't understand them, instead of just being like, here's what an NFT is, let's move on and get past it. Is that the distraction? Because I would say that's the distraction. NFTs are just like credit cards or savings accounts or, I don't know, IRAs, you know what I mean? It's just another thing. And you can either get all worried about how it looks like, or you can just use it or not use it and move on. But I'm taking it that way, that like the people that are focused on making a big deal about it are just focused. They're just waiting for the next thing to be focused on. Like they're not teaching, they're just waiting.
Okay.
I thought that was ice, the dog stuff.
Oh, yeah, I was feeding the dogs.
The NRA has done more damage than good overall? You're saying, has the NRA done more damage than good overall? No. Or if you're saying it has, then you got to back it up with something. Imagine NFT of guns people in anti-gun states can't own. Yeah, I guess. Depends on how people want to use them, I guess. Like if that would satisfy someone, I'm sure someone will sell it to them. totally popped up with chain. I don't know what that means. Clarify. Let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, I think you're saying, I don't know what you're saying now. That yes, that drew a bunch of attention, but no real tangible 2A direction. All right, well, here's the thing. Chris's interviews, go ahead, Smeg, if you want to address that part of it.
Oh, I was just saying, I think he's saying that the distraction is the NFT, not the people ignoring it or whatever. But I don't think NFTs were ever hailed as being like the savior of 2A. They're just, I look at them, they're like art. Some people value it, some people don't. And if you think it's cool, get some. If you don't think it's cool, don't get some. Like, it's not a big deal. I don't see why people freak out about it.
So if he's saying totally popped up with Chris, that drew a bunch of attention, but no real tangible, like oh, here we go. NFT popped up with Chris dramatically because of the cover giveaways and such. Yeah, so I think I know what he's saying, but I'm going to answer it this way. It either works with his POV or not. But basically, here's what I think. Chris is just a nice guy, and he doesn't really care what he talks about, right? So I think that he did that NFT of the cover, and then it went up to a bunch of money, and then people were like, what's all that about? So he answered the question, and then it was like, oh, Chris is going around talking about NFTs as if he went on an NFT book signing tour. And in reality, everybody just kept asking him what it is, and he answered them longer than he needed to, maybe. Like if he could have just said, oh, it's an electronic thing and it's over now, we can talk about shoelaces, and then we would have talked about shoelaces with Chris. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody really had that big a thing other than they didn't know what an NFT was, and it's hard to explain, so they didn't really get it. And then it just became like everybody wanted to talk about it. But if that would have never come up, if they would have just sold like a framed copy of the magazine, it wouldn't have sold for that much money for sure. But if they would have just sold it to raise money, right, a framed signed copy of the magazine, you know what I'm saying? That's what they would have talked about. They would have just talked about something else. I don't think that Chris really brought NFT up as a thing. I think it just happened to come up because nobody knows what it is right now. And it was like 3 or 4 interviews where that's all he talked about. And Chris wasn't like the kind of person to go, at least I don't think he's the kind of person to go, I'm sick of talking about NFTs already. Can we talk about like my shoelaces or something already? Like, come on.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example. Like, that's actually a really easy way to describe it. It's like a frame signed copies. Like, you can prove there's only one of them because he only signed one of them, and then you can own it. It's just that it's electronically, and it uses, new electrical craziness to prove that there's only one of them. Like, if you want to explain it to an old timer or something, like, don't worry about it. Computer magic happens. It proves there's only one of these things. So if you own it, you feel special because you have the only one. But yeah, I don't think it's like, I also don't think he was like a crusader for NFTs. It was just like, this thing's kind of neat. And maybe it did shed some light on, this is a cool way to fundraise or something. Like, that could be used towards 2A if the other organizations do stuff and they don't just like keep the money and buy a new watch or whatever. They actually use it for something. Then that's cool. More power to them.
Let's see. Well, Clover's back out there, so I don't know if we got any other topics or what. We're just about to hit the 2-hour mark.
2 hours?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about compromise.
Let's talk about compromise. Why don't we just compromise a little bit? Somebody said over here, all right, so then we're going to go over to the subscriptions link, and we're live. Yankee's got some kind of, he's eating McDonald's live. He bought, what, $24,000 worth of toys? Yankee doesn't, he sucks at ever documenting anything. What the hell? He sucks at documenting anything, so he doesn't write down anywhere. He probably has it like in a video somewhere. Was it 24,000?
I do not know. I just know this year is bigger than the other years. Like that is growing each year, and that it was an entire like rental truck. Whereas last year he got like one of the big cargo vans that I think you know a little bit about. But this year he had to upgrade even more.
Let's see. And then I guess I'm also going to mention 2, maybe 3 podcasts that are worth listening to that aren't really 2A, but I think can give you some insight and have probably some lessons and some insight. I don't know what the best word is to apply to 2A though. And those would be the Mic Drop podcast that comes out just once a month. So you're only going to get one of those every second matters. Another one is called Combat Story. These are YouTube channels. Combat Story comes out almost every week, maybe even more or less. So maybe 4 or 5 a month even. And I haven't really paid attention. I think it seems like that many. And then the last one is maybe OG Pumpkin for some people. But that's a ranger who is started out as a kid being like just a punk on the streets kind of thing, being in a gang, joining the army, going into the Rangers, doing some interesting things, and then coming out, going back to where he came from, and going to school to be a nutritionist, and then hosting a bunch of interesting events, and often focused with guns and shooting, because Southern California has quite a bit of interest in firearms these days, from my understanding. I'm guessing it's because a lot of retired military are hanging out down there. But anyway, it's a great insight to see if you're a veteran looking at the new generations, the youngins coming out. And then as just somebody who might be interested to see some of the stuff that's affecting and, with the influence that the younger veterans have got, like seeing what they're dealing with and how they're dealing with it and stuff. It's really neat. Has a cool interview style. He interviews regular folks. And then Combat Story is a helicopter pilot who went into the CIA, and he interviews people about their combat experience and then the things adjacent to that. So with a focus on their combat story or experience. So an interesting one, and he goes back and talks to people from all the way back to Vietnam and all the way up to right now. And then Mic Drop is a long format, deep discussion, many hours often. And lately his shows have gotten a lot less long, lengthy, whatever. Like they're only a couple hours long, but go back and listen to some of those early shows, and for 4 hours you really get to know the individuals, and their stories become all that much more significant and interesting when you hear about where they came from and then what they've done since. And again, even though it's not 100% focused on 2A, it's the kind of stuff that can give you a lot of perspective and a lot of insight. I don't know if those are the good words for it. Yeah, thanks. DJ's throwing some links out there. Appreciate it. Holding up the work that Makoto would normally be doing on one of your shows. I think Makoto was out there, wasn't he? Maybe not. It was too early for him. All right, well, kept threatening it, except for DJ dropping links. And everybody freaking out about the electronics. We don't even need to talk about the electronics anymore. Or compromise. Nobody likes compromise. We'll compromise to electronically end this. So there, we had an Every Second Matters for this month. Smeggy was in here. Ghost was in here. Clovertac was in here. A bunch of people were out in the comments. Appreciate the people that join us live. If you're listening to this after the fact, go ahead and leave comments. I don't know if anybody reads them. This isn't anybody's main channel. It's just a channel for people that want to occasionally focus on what the Second Amendment protects. You got anything to throw out there before we head out, Smeggy?
No, not particularly. Just, keep fighting for the Second Amendment.
You broke up. Keep fighting for the Second Amendment.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, so what's the deal? We had a pretty decent year. We got another year coming. Right, we can keep going and learn and share and keep going. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for showing up. I guess I could play one of these things. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals at gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com. Do 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 do.